Good morning and happy new year. I hope 2021 will be kind to all of us. Well, as you know, from March last year, we had to go also onto the lockdown level 5, and so we could not continue with contact teaching. So I can say that some universities reopened the 20th of April. Some, like mine, University of Pretoria, were opened on the 4th of May. 10 universities have managed to complete the academic year 2020. The other, if you like, the balance of universities is 16 universities will be completing their academic year 2020 between January now and February to March this year. And some of us will resume February and March 2021 for academic year 2021. It was a difficult situation. We needed also, given that people could no longer have contact teaching and learning, we needed to go online. So the challenges were multiple: getting computers, getting data to students, then launching online and proceeding with the academic year 2020. And so I think that those universities that were able to complete 2020 were, if you like, able and had resources to be able to do so. And those students, those universities that could not complete, had more severe challenges in relation to providing computers, data, and so on and so forth.
Now, Professor, I think just before we get into some of the strategies that were employed, I just want to look at the more pressing issue of matriculants. We've seen the results that are slowly going to be trickling in as marking starts on Monday. When we look at the implications there are for the universities, perhaps also, how this might stagger their reopening. I mean, how is this going to impact institutions of higher learning?
So it means, as I said in the last time, it complicates situations somewhat for some institutions, in that they are still completing the academic year 2020 and the matrics are knocking on the door. Their results are delayed. I think 26 February or thereabout is when we get the bulk of the results or most of the results. And then we make our admission selections. That is why you will find that most universities are going to, for first years, depends on the university. Some are staggering the years so that people start at different points in January, in February, which was a normal start of the academic year. Some start in February somewhere, and some might start even in April. So there is, if you like, no longer the alignment that used to be there, that universities opened in relatively a short period in February. We used to start in the beginning of February, for example, but we now start in March 2021. So it does make the academic timetable a little challenging and a little tighter than is usual. But these are the times we live in, trying to live with the virus and trying to manage the pandemic.
Now, Professor Tawana, I mean, we can't ignore the fact that the COVID-19 pandemic has, exacerbated some of the issues, brought to the fore some of the issues that has already plagued the education sector at large. I mean, you alluded to issues of equity, issues of equality, issues of lack of access to resources, amongst, many other issues. So when we look at the strategies that were employed to mitigate against some of these challenges, I mean, what were the key takeaways? And when we look at the future of learning, I mean, is it online?
Yeah, well, some of the strategies I've already mentioned is that you had to mobilize computers, laptops. So many universities had to repurpose their budgets. There was also a determination by government, Department of Higher Education and Training, that all NEFSA students will get a laptops paid for by the government. Unfortunately, as you might have read, the tender did not go through as planned, and so they actually did not get their computers. So universities are doing as a result to rely on their own resources and to mobilize other resources. So fundraising strategies, getting money from donors. The Motsepe Foundation came in very big for many universities, including mine. For example, they gave us 3 million rand to augment our own resources. We at University of Pretoria created our own UP Solidarity Fund, to which we donated part of our salaries as the staff members. People came to the party again. And Aspen came to the party as well, Nokia and some other companies like that. Now, I think equity equality was really impacted. The digital divide exists among our universities. It reflects the social and economic inequalities. Now, going online was the only option on the table. But also, it must be understood that online is not the optimal way of learning everything for everybody. In other words, there might be some courses that might be good learned online, taught online for some students at certain levels of their studies. There are some that is not. Because the contact, the social engagement encourages a number of other graduate attributes that you want. Students who can engage with emotional intelligence, who can collaborate and so on, and appreciate diversity and so on. That can be done online. But and also online puts the challenge of people learning to learn online, people teaching to teach online,
Yeah.
and the resources and the technology is working optimally for everybody, and also being affordable. That is not always the case for everybody. So online is not the future. The future is hybrid teaching and learning, which is where some elements are in contact mode and some elements are online, particularly for first years and particularly for certain skills and activities. Like you need research labs, you need to touch certain things. Medical students need to see and touch patients. And students who do veterinary science, like in our context, need to see and touch animals, and so on and so forth. So I think that yes to online because we were being slow also on going online, but no to 100% everything, everybody online. I think intelligent, nuanced, calibrated strategy of online and contact is the future, and many of us are embracing it in that way.
Well, Professor, you actually highlighted an important point that I wanted to pick up on. I mean, you spoke about how online might not be, the most conducive form of learning for some students. There are also issues of language barriers. There's also the issue of the lack of social engagement. There's also the issue of it being an optimal learning, means for some people. So when we look at the preparedness, perhaps, of teachers and lecturers going into this, modus operandi, what measures were put in place to equip them and also assist them as we navigate this new normal?
No, I think very good question and very pertinent one. There's been a tendency, I think, even for those of us who completed 20 academic year 2020, to think that online is a breeze, everybody can do it. As a matter of fact, we at University of Pretoria were doing monitoring and evaluation at various intervals to test staff and students as to their comfort and abilities around online teaching and learning. They expressed some difficulties, although most of them said they could navigate the situation. So, what is needed, to go directly to your question, is training on both sides, training the academic staff and availing them of the necessary technical staff to be able to actually prepare materials for online teaching and learning. It's a different format from contact, and also to be able to be comfortable and teach online. And for students also to train how to learn online. Sitting in front of a computer and being able to open it does not mean you are able to optimally actually learn. And also begin to actually help students to begin to interact online. So what must happen also online is we must move away from dumping videos, PowerPoint presentation, and notes online. We must learn actually to have live interactive online lessons, just like this particular kind of interview. At the University of Pretoria, we found that training is necessary in that regard, and that we're driving towards live interactive, or what we call synchronous learning, that is in real life, but also then recording the lectures and also archiving them for people to access them after class, because we found that that helps people do. So a purely online strategy, which assumes that you have a computer, you have data, you are good to go, is simply not going to work. Online teaching and learning is a style, a format, and requires different abilities from both the people who are students and the people who are actually teaching them. It requires a lot of technical backup and a lot of equipment and studios for those who actually have to prepare these lectures and teach them, and for lecture rooms to be equipped appropriately.
All right, Professor Tawana Kupe, we're going to have to leave the conversation there. I mean, it's interesting to also see how the university itself, navigated these, new challenges on the go during these unprecedented times. Also looking at some of the facilities that were open. So we'll continue to monitor what that impact of COVID-19 has on the education sector at large and the ripple effects that is to come in the year of 2021. Again, Professor Tawana Kupe is the University of Pretoria's Vice Chancellor. Again, chatting to us about the impact of COVID-19 on institutions of higher learning.